All right, guys, what's going on? Jamie here. Wanted to do another update, actually the last update for MetaFi yielders that I'll be doing. I haven't really been talking about MetaFi yielders. They've been going through quite a bit of drama. And last month, we've had a couple of different platforms that had rugged, right? You had SwapNext, there was COTPS. I was never in COTPS, but there was a lot of people in COTPS. I actually personally know a bunch of people that were making quite a bit of money over there. And when you have these platforms that are offering 3.3%, 4%, up to 5% a day, and the market starts to tank, it's like a perfect storm for these platforms to implode, right? So let's go over this real quick, what's going on and why I think this thing is over. Of course, goes without saying that I am not a financial advisor. Should never be taking financial advice from a stranger on YouTube. If you want financial advice, you should seek out a professional. If you're gonna get into anything in crypto, guys, do your own due diligence, and for Pete's sake, only put in what you can afford to lose, guys. Okay, that's something that I do. I only put in risk capital, and if a platform goes away 5 seconds after I put funds into it, I'm okay with it because it's only what funds that I could afford to lose. Okay, so that's one thing you need to make sure you're doing, guys. So that's a big takeaway, and that's something that I've been talking about for years. I've been in this space now for years, and I used to make videos on, hey, only putting in funds you can afford to lose, guys. And I'll probably be talking a lot more about that as we move forward. But back to MetaFi, okay? So MetaFi yielders had some issues last month when the market was crumbling, and you had platforms like SwapNext and a bunch of these different platforms were having issues. They were cutting withdrawals, they were restricting withdrawals, all sorts of things were happening because these platforms were imploding because these high percentages that they were paying out a day, fixed, mind you. It's hard to keep up with that when the market is tanking, right? So this was a platform that, the Michael Dehar, I don't even know if that's his real name. He's the CEO and founder of the platform. He was on Front Street making videos. He was doing Zooms. And that was one of the things that I liked about it is you had a face. It wasn't, it was somebody that was actually doxxed that was behind it. Well, it came back to bite him in the butt, I guess. And I guess this is why a lot of these admins or devs or people that create these platforms, a lot of them aren't doxxed, and why they're anonymous, because when the platform started to go sideways, he started to receive death threats and all sorts of things. His family was receiving death threats, his daughter was receiving death threats, obviously. And again, I'm going to assume that this is the truth. Of course, this can be just a slow rug, and that's what he's saying to justify what he's cut off all communication. There's really no communication. He's not making any videos. He's not talking about anything. He did do a post on Facebook, which I'll cover here in a second, but he's not interacting anymore. Definitely not interacting anymore the way he was when he was doing the live Zooms, and he was very active on Telegram, very active on Facebook. Those were the things that I liked about the platform. But again, I guess it bit him in the butt because now he's receiving all sorts of threats. I don't condone any of that. I don't condone, like, if you're going to put money into something and it goes away and you lose your funds, that's the risk we take, right? I'm definitely, like, me personally, I'm taking a loss on this particular platform. I'll show you here in a second. I have nothing to hide. I'm pretty transparent. If you've been on my channel for any period of time, you know that I'm pretty as transparent as they come, right? So I'll show you here. I took an L on this platform, but I don't condone violence or anything like that. If you put funds into a platform and something happens, that's the risk you take. That's the risk you take, right? You want big gains, you got to be able to take some risk, and you can't. If you take an L on something, you can't just start resorting to violence. Like if you go to Vegas or something like that, or Atlantic City, and you go to the blackjack table, and you're playing blackjack, right? And you're winning, you're pumped up, you're excited, you're happy, right? If you start going backwards and you're like, and you start losing, you can't just grab the dealer and just say, hey, give me my money back. It's like you stayed at the table, you went to the table, right? Like, you got to take responsibility for your actions. Now, am I happy that people are some people are going to take a loss on this. Of course not. I'm taking a loss, right? The good news is, well, the silver lining is I didn't really have many people on my channel who jumped into this, right? Or I didn't have anybody, watching my videos who really jumped into this. So it's really just me that's taking an L on this, right? I had like 9 people who came in. The average of those 9 people, the average person deposited like $1,000 out of those 9 people, and I think more than half of those people got their money back because they requested a refund back when things were okay, and they were able to get their refund. Okay. So anyway, back to this. Okay. So he was receiving death threats. So when he was receiving these death threats, what happened was his attorney, and again, I'm just going by what I see on social media, right? Again, I can't verify if this is the truth or not, if this is just a slow rug. This can very well be just a slow rug, and he's, for me, it's like if you're gonna rug something, just rug. Like, it's just so much more hassle to create all these fabricated stories. That's why I'm taking it like he's telling the truth, right? Now, again, I don't know. I can't verify one way or the other, okay? But apparently, because of this, he's notified the authorities over in Australia where he's at, and they've advised him to not communicate. Don't email anybody, don't talk to anybody, don't get on social media. Just, what they would tell him to do, right? And that's why he's not, why he's not in communication. Now, he did post, I'm going to show you here over on Facebook, he did post this because one of the things that he was doing is he was, from the very beginning, his goal was to become a compliant entity, right? He wanted to do a KYC. He wanted, like, his goal was to make this thing along. At least that's what he said, right? Again, can't verify one way or the other. One thing about, these platforms is, you can't verify one way or the other if the person behind the platform is telling the truth or not. You just gotta, again, that's why I say do your own research. But at the end of the day, it's like, how much research can you do? Because you can't really tell the heart of a person, right? Like, they can be someone who says all the right things, but they have malicious intentions, vice versa. They can have what good intentions, but because the market tanked last month, right? Like, he couldn't predict all that, right? He may have had intentions of making this a long-term deal, but because of market conditions, just couldn't, right? Because when you're paying out a fixed 3.3% a day and 4.2% a day, it's hard to keep up with that when the market is tanking, right? So anyway, this is what he posted 7 hours ago, right? So it says here, official statement, there's a lot of misleading and false information being shared and communicated within various social media platforms about myself and MetaFi yielders. The following facts: my identity was stolen, and there are more than 15 versions of myself who claim to be me. I have not communicated officially with any group or individual since May 25th. If you have received any information since this date, consider it to be false. So again, there's going to be a lot of scam sites, scam social, like even on Telegram, there's a MetaFi yielders group. And supposedly Michael Daher, right? Now I'm looking at this and I'm saying, that's probably not him. He was telling people, hey, go to this site. We can help you get withdrawals, et cetera, et cetera. And it's just a scam, right? They're going to use that to, figure out a way to steal money from you, right? So this is official, right? It says here he's the admin of this group. It basically says, that he hasn't communicated with anybody, right? So anybody that's communicating with you, that's supposedly me, it's not, it's not me, okay? On the 9th of June, 2022, MetaFi Yielders Pty Ltd received a warning letter from Asic, which is the Australia Security and Investment Commission. They're like the SEC, I guess. We have responded with full compliance and have applied for the MetaFi Yielders Pty Ltd to be deregistered, right? So you can actually, he actually gives all the letters right here, right? I'm not going to go through that here. You can check this out for yourself. It says here, I've reported this matter to the Australian police, both state and federal, who have successfully submitted to the Australian Cybersecurity Center, ACSC. The online fraud report number is CIR. Like, he's providing like official, I guess you can look this up, right? So in addition to receiving death threats and that sort of thing, another thing that's happened is Asic which is like the SEC over there, he's having some issues with them, apparently. Okay. They gave him a warning letter. I think what happened was people were complaining, I guess, to Asic, and they researched him, and they're saying, hey, you're number one, you're using our logo, which you shouldn't be using our logo, which I'll show you that here in a second. But then number two, we have issues with your platform, okay, in a nutshell. So because of that, he can't do anything. Like he can't continue with the platform, is the bottom line, right? He posted this an hour ago. No caption or nothing. It's just a letter from Asic, basically saying that, hey, Asic is basically saying that, hey, we have some concerns. You're saying that you have some on your website. It says you have packages where you can make profit without risk on crypto. You should never say that, right? Profit without risk. You can earn with profitable investment packages up to 3.3% every day for 30 business days. And then they have they said on his YouTube channel, you're using the Asic logo wrongfully, fraudulently. You're making it look like Asic is approving of what you're saying, which we are not. So he actually shows the letter that he received from Asic. So it says a required action, immediately remove statements from the website, remove any false or misleading representations from the website, provide a statement of compliance within the next 48 hours. Asic does not endorse any particular investment. Asic never gives permission to use its name or logo to promote financial products. Immediately remove references to Asic's name, because he was using Asic's logo, right? He was basically, I know in a lot of videos he was saying, look, we're going to be a compliant entity. We're going to apply for KYC, et cetera, and now he's running into these issues. Now, because of that, he is not able to continue with the platform. This is why I'm saying that the platform is probably done. Okay, it's probably done. And look, let's face it, when they stopped withdrawals, okay, it was done back then, right? But okay, I have funds in here. There's nothing else I could do. Let me strap myself on for the ride. Let's get on this roller coaster, because what else are we going to do? It's, to me, like mentally it was gone anyway. But let me kind of keep up with it, keep a loose eye on it. Every now and then I'll jump into their social media and see what people are saying, get some updates from some people that I know. And it's not, every update was, hey, the withdrawals haven't been turned on. It's not, and everybody was saying, probably not going to come back. But I just kind of just let it play out, because my thing is let the dust settle. But after seeing what I've seen right now, it's all right. He's not going to make any statements. He's not going to talk to anybody. He's receiving death threats because I guess people have lost money in this thing or something like that. His daughter has received death threats. Now, on top of that, he's having issues with Asic, because now they're telling him, hey, you're not compliant. You need to do this, you need to do that. So now he has to deal with that issue. So all of that just to say, is this a slow rug? Is it true? Is it verifiable? I can't verify any of this stuff. I'm halfway across the world. I don't know what's going on over there. If in fact this is true and he's receiving death threats, I mean, that's not cool, right? Whether you lose money or something or not, you should never resort to that. But again, I can't verify if this is true or not. This is all just hearsay. But it looks like the stuff with Asic is legit. Like he's providing numbers and letters and emails so people can check it out. But I mean, this is what happens when you have, when you're providing these crazy percentages and you're doxxed, right? Like you're out there on Front Street, this is why a lot of devs, choose not to be doxxed, I guess, right? So what's the takeaway here? I mean, here you can see here, this is I put in 31,000 bucks. I can't withdraw any of this stuff. It looks pretty cool on a dashboard, but I can't withdraw any of this. But yeah, we didn't break even on this. We only, out of our 31,000, we only withdrew 12,000 of it. So, just a little under 2/3 of our active deposit we were able to recoup. So, it's an L. Like we're taking a loss in this, but it's funds that we can afford to lose. We move on. You look at this and say, okay, we took a risk. We knew what it was. If you look at some of my earlier videos when I first started talking about this, I said, guys, 3.3% a day, this is ultra risky, guys, ultra risky. Okay, anything that's paying above 1% a day, even 1%. I mean, where can you get 1% a day in the real world, right? Much less 3.3% a day. So this is just risk upon risk and sprinkled with more risk on top, right? So I said that early on from the beginning. So I knew what I was getting into, right? It was just a matter of, okay, can this thing run? And if you watch my earlier videos, this is what I said. I said, if this thing can run for X amount of days and I can break even and I can withdraw, what I put in, then it's just profit, from that point on. The gamble is, and I even use that word gamble, the gamble is, can we get to that day? Apparently we were not able to get to that day. And that's how it is with some of these platforms. I got to report when things are going good, when the market's going good, when platforms are going good. I got to make videos on it. If platforms don't go well, I gotta report on that as well, right? I want to give you the good, the bad, the ugly. This is the space we're in. This is the wild, wild west. This is crypto. This is DeFi. You can make tons of money here, but you got to be ready to take some L's if you have to. And that's what it looks like here. Like I said, the good news is, there wasn't really a bunch of people who jumped on this on our team. I think we had 9 people. The average deposit, if we take 9 and there was 9,000 deposited, like 1,000, each of these 9 people deposited $1,000. Now that's an average. Some people might have deposited less, some people might have deposited more. I know that there was probably more than half of them that got their money back, because I was talking to a couple of them and they said, yes, I did request a refund. I did get my money back. I didn't request a refund only because, I was holding on to if this thing is going to come back. And again, I think because it's funds that I can afford to lose, I'm not really stressing about it, which again, I want to emphasize, if you're going to get into these platforms, these contracts, these hypes, these whatever, okay, there's going to be risk. Only put in what you can afford to lose. Some of you guys might be sitting there saying, well, this is a centralized platform. This is why I only get into decentralized contracts. There's risk in that too. We've seen exploits, we've seen hacks, we've seen, people draining liquidity. We've seen malicious devs who actually dump and drain the liquidity on their members base. We've seen a lot of crazy things happen in the quote unquote decentralized space also. So I'm not saying that one is more risky than the other. This is all risky. All of this stuff is risky, guys. Okay. So again, only put in what you can afford to lose and do your research. Like I did my research. I knew what I was getting into. I said, you know what, we might take a loss on this. We'll see what happens. And, we were only able to withdraw out a third of what we put in, but life goes on. We move on and we look for other opportunities, because here's one thing that a mentor taught me a long time ago. If you lose money, you can make it back, right? Like I never stress about losing money because I can make it back. Like we can make money back, right? It's not like losing an arm or losing a leg or losing a loved one, right? You can never get those things back, right? Money you can make back, right? Now you might say, well, easier said than done. For you, when is it easy to lose 20K, right? Like I'm negative 20K on this deal. It's not easy, but like I said, I knew what I was getting into. I accept the risk. Nobody put a gun to my head, and turned out the way it turned out. Then we move on from this, right? We take a deep breath, we move on, and there's other opportunities to make this back, right? Because this is DeFi. You can make this back. I can make this back no problem. With other platforms. But like I said, I've been in the space for a long time. I wasn't always like this, right? I remember the first time I lost, I had put together my last $3,000 to get into my first crypto platform, which was called Gladia Coin, right? I'm kind of dating myself. This was out like in 2016 or something like that. I was like, man, let me take my last $3,000 because I didn't know how these platforms work. But man, I can earn percentages on my money. Let me get in this thing, right? Well, like a week later, they shut off withdrawals, et cetera, right? Platform went away. And I was like, man, that was like my last $3,000. I had to start over, right? So I've been there. I've done that because I've gone through those things. When I go through things like this, I move on. I put $75,000 into Trunk Stampede, right? I don't even know what's going on over there. right? I got to do some research to see if I'm ever going to get some of that money back. But why am I so cool and level-headed, even though I put 75K into that deal, and it's I don't know if I'm going to get any of it back, because like I said, I only put in what I can afford to lose. I practice what I say on these videos. Okay, I only put in risk capital. You need to put in only risk capital. That's the big takeaway. Let this 20K that I lost be a 20K lesson for you. That if you're going to get into these platforms, is only put in what you can afford to lose, guys, because you never know what's going to happen. That being said, all of that just to say, I think it's over. It was, the writing was on the wall a month ago that this was going to be over. But now that he's putting out all these documents and Asic is telling him to, take down the website, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, it's I think it's officially kaputs. All right, guys, just wanted to give you an update. Again, I report on the good, the bad, and the ugly. It's not always good news. It's not always good updates, but we move on. All right, guys. All right, I'll catch you in the next one. Follow me on Telegram. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Hit that little bell icon so you'll get notified straight away whenever I do a brand new video. As I mentioned a million times on this video, do your own research when you get into something. Only put in what you can afford to lose. If you can't stomach the risk, don't even bother to get in. All right? All right, peace.